For this segment of Notes from the Field, we are going to explore the work being done for the Center of Conservation of Ecuadorian Herpetofauna. Amphibians are disappearing at an exponential rate, causing the world's largest single-mass vertebrate extinction in history. The work for this project takes place in Ecuador, which is a country located in South America, just above Peru and below Colombia. Ecuador ranks third in the world for the amphibian diversity with over 9% of the world's amphibians. Over 44% of these are found nowhere else on Earth. The epicenter for this conservation project takes place in Quito, Ecuador. In this segment of Notes from the Field, we've been able to catch up to the director of the Center for the Conservation of Ecuadorian Herpetofauna, Lauren Augustine. Well, good morning, Lauren. How are you doing?
I'm great, thanks, Mike. How are you today?
I'm doing well. We have a few questions to ask you this morning about the Center for Conservation of Ecuadorian Herpetofauna. One of the first questions I have is, what is herpetofauna?
Great question. So this center started with a focus on amphibians and continues to be focused on amphibians, but herpetofauna are the amphibian and reptile communities in an ecosystem. And so this center is taking a more ecosystem approach to conservation of biodiversity using amphibians as the focal taxa.
In your words as a director of this center, can you summarize what is the work that you are doing for this center?
Yeah, so the center started in 2006 through supporting a conservation biologist, Dr. Luis Coloma's work in Ecuador and his efforts to conserve amphibians. Ecuador has the third highest diversity of amphibians in the world, with 44% in endemism, which means that 44% of the amphibians found in Ecuador are found nowhere else in the world. And so we're in an amphibian crisis where amphibians are declining. And in Ecuador, many of the threats include disease, habitat destruction, and habitat degradation from things like mining. A very important part of Dr. Luis Coloma's work is implementing the strategic plan for the conservation of amphibians in Ecuador. This includes describing species, as well as working with the IUCN to get their statuses updated for conservation action. Fundacion Jambatu is taking a holistic approach to amphibian conservation, housing assurance colonies, researching amphibians, as well as describing new species and conducting very valuable research both in the field and in the lab.
So Lauren, what do you like most about being the director of this center?
I'm so proud to be the director of this center. I started at the St. Louis Zoo a little over 2 years ago, and as I've mentioned, this collaboration started well before my time in 2006 through the relationships of the St. Louis Zoo WildCare Institute and Dr. Luis Coloma and the zoological manager of the herpetarium at the St. Louis Zoo, Mark Warner. This collaboration is whole picture. It's really looking at the conservation of Ecuadorian amphibians from every angle. And when I first visited the center and met Dr. Coloma, I was just blown away by his efforts and the well-rounded approach he is taking to conserving Ecuadorian amphibians.
So Lauren, what is one last thing to leave everybody with, one last message about the center that you would like everybody to come away with?
One last message about this center that I would love everyone to come away with is the dedication of Dr. Coloma and his team and the passion they have for conserving these unique species that inhabit the Ecuadorian ecosystems. They are taking a well-rounded approach to conserving these amphibians by not just looking at their habitats and threats, but also developing assurance colonies within the facility, opening their facility in Quito to educational outreach to try to touch the citizens of Ecuador and connect them with their local amphibian populations, as well as conducting very valuable research, including describing species.
Lauren, thank you so much this morning for taking some time to tell us a little more about the center, and I look forward to talking to you about some of the other centers that you run.
Thank you, Mike. Have a great day.